1001. Brother of Golden Lion, Double Lion Fruit. 001. The Brother of Golden Lion, start with Double Lion Fruit. One Piece World, see Circle Calendar 1454. Mariawa ruled the world for nearly 800 years. The proliferation of aristocratic regimes has brought chaos to the world. All over the world there is poverty and war. Those who have never experienced it will never be able to imagine how terrifying darkness is shrouded in this world. West Blue Nuxus. The island has no country, just a patchwork of small towns. Because they couldn't pay the heavenly money, they couldn't become a franchise country. Chaotic order. Let this island become a paradise for pirates to burn, kill, and plunder. Countless children are displaced and face death all the time. Brother, you can't die. You are dead. What should I do? Nuxus Town, in the suburbs, in the dense forest. The ragged boy was anxiously calling out to the figure lying on the ground next to him who didn't know his life or death. The figure on the ground uttered a soft moan and slowly sat up, eyes dazed. Brother, it's great that you're fine. The boy beside him was overjoyed to see Kazan wake up. Kazan looked at Shiki, who was rushing towards him, and a series of brand new images could not help appearing in his mind. My mind started to feel a little dazed. After a few seconds, he regained his clear eyes, and a trace of bitterness appeared at the corner of his mouth. My Mazda finally got the license plate. How did it become a stinky kid in a migrant worker manga in the blink of an eye? What he didn't expect was that he became Shiki's big brother while he was still in the chaotic era. This is really unexpected. From the memory of the predecessor, the current timeline is still Circle Calendar 1454, which is far earlier than the plotline. His time travel name is Kazan. He is 8 years old, and the boy next to him is his twin brother, Shiki. In the original work of the previous life, no one mentioned the name Kazan. But Shiki is famous because he is one of the 3 legendary pirates who are as famous as the One Piece King Roger and the strongest man Ugate in the old days. Pirate Admiral, Golden Lion, Shiki. But Kazan was taken aback by the annoyance that followed. The original owner should have starved to death and went offline at this time. Even if Shiki survived, no matter how powerful he was later, he would just become Legendary's background board. When Kazan was in a daze, Shiki next to him saw Kazan wake up and was shocked. The 2 brothers were in a state of extreme hunger and were hunted down by pirates, and their physical strength was exhausted. Shiki hurriedly rummaged through the package he had just stolen, hoping to find something to eat. Just as Shiki dug out a pile of sundries, a strange fruit with a pale blue color tumbled out. The unexpected scene immediately attracted Kazan's attention. Shiki. This is. Kazan took the exotic fruit and looked at it carefully. Judging from his experience as a traveler, this fruit with weird patterns is definitely a secret treasure of the sea. Devil fruit. Perhaps this fruit is the beginning of the 2 brothers changing their destiny. Dang. It is detected that the host is in contact with the secret treasure of luck in this world, the lion fruit of Paramecia, and the divine great experience system is bound. What? Kazan's face changed suddenly when he heard the mechanical prompt sound in his mind. Immediately, the system beep sounded again. Host can continuously gain experience points through reading, researching, traveling, etc., and experience points are added to the entries of its own attributes of various dimensions. Do you want to open the novice gift package? At this time, Kazan understood that his cheat as a time traveler had arrived. There was a look of surprise in his eyes. Without even thinking about it, he said silently in his heart, System, open the novice gift bag. For Kazan, the starter pack is his lifeline. If I remember correctly, the 2 brothers chose to take risks when they had nowhere to go. When the pirates were killing and plundering, they took advantage of the chaos and took a package from the caravan. The 2 brothers must have the power to protect themselves before the pirates come after them. Dang. Congratulations to Host for obtaining 500,000 experience points. Congratulations to Host for getting a new entry, Swordsmanship. Congratulations to Host for getting a new entry, Fortune. Do you want to integrate experience points into entries in exchange for experience upgrades? Accompanied by the system beeping, Kazan found a simple panel popping up in his mind. Host Kazan. Swordsmanship. LV00/500 plus. Fortune 100. The entry is full for the first time, cleared after use, and the fortune value is increased by special conditions. Experience value 500,000 points. Without hesitation, Kazan locked his eyes on the plus sign behind the sword skill level. Swordsmanship is currently the only entry he can add points to. Follow the gaze. With 500,000 experience points, Kazan chose to add all of his brain power to swordsmanship. Ding! Host consumes 500,000 experience points. Sword skill increased from LV0 to LV35. The sense of swordsmanship that appeared out of nowhere in his body finally made Kazan feel relieved. Shiki next to him didn't pay attention to Kazan's daze. He just swallowed his saliva with his eyes wide open, looking at the blue exotic fruit in Kazan's hand with flickering eyes. Brother, this fruit should be delicious, right? What a beautiful and clean fruit, Shiki exclaimed. The two brothers haven't eaten fresh fruit for a long time, not to mention lion fruit's appearance is very good, and Shiki's stomach is making noises. Kazan took a long breath and explained, "This is the devil fruit, the secret treasure of the SEA. As long as you eat it, you can gain powerful demon power, and the price is to become a landlubber. Lion fruit belongs to Paramecia. Ability users can escape gravity and fly in the air, and can manipulate non-living objects they touch, and use their abilities to make them float, and even make dozens of islands float in the sky all year round." Of course, Shiki of later generations proved that as long as it is developed properly, lion fruit can not only make objects float, but also fabricate and mobilize floating objects. Even in a blizzard, it can attack the enemy in form. Shiki's throat surged subconsciously, and the saliva secreted. He didn't think of himself first, but suggested, "Brother, then eat it quickly. Eat it, you can live. Half each." Kazan, starved to death, made an immediate decision. Kazan, who got the system, would naturally not rob lion fruit with his brother. He knew that only the person who took the first bite would gain the ability. Finished. He directly broke the lion fruit in half and divided half into Shiki's hands. "Quick, swallow it." Kazan watched Shiki gobble the fruit down. Only then did he feel relieved to stuff the other half of the pulp into his mouth. It's so unpalatable. It actually smells like a dead mouse. Ugh. Kazan was prepared to gag when he heard Shiki say this. But then, Shiki and Kazan, a vigorous force appeared in the body one after another. The two of them miraculously floated up one after another. Shiki looked incredible. "Brother, I'm floating." Kazan's center was also surprised. "I'm floating too." 2002. The magic of fortune, sex. 002. The magic of fortune, sex. Dang. Detect the host's luck event. Consume all the luck points to generate a critical strike. You have shared the power of floating. At the same time, the floating marks of host and Shiki are also shared. Fortune value. So that's how it is. At this moment, Kazan noticed that the fortune value on his panel had been cleared to 0. In other words, when the luck value reaches 100, if Kazan is exposed to a big event of luck, it may consume all the luck points in exchange for benefits other than surprises. After all, according to common sense, demon abilities can be similar, but each one is unique. Now he actually obtained the power of floating. What's more pervert is to share the floating imprint with Shiki. One of the two brothers imprinted the mark, and the other could manipulate things to float. Sure enough, the product produced by the system must be a high-quality product. Kazan had to admire the magic of the system in his heart. Owned devil fruit for the first time. Both Kazan brothers are not used to it. They floated uncontrollably in the air, already floating 6 or 7 meters above the ground, and even tended to float higher. Shiki felt nervous. He couldn't hold the bag firmly in his hands. The gold and silver treasures inside, and some dry food, fell to the ground from midair. Make a tinkling sound. Maybe the two brothers have been used to wandering since they were young. Just like Xiaoqiang, they have relatively strong adaptability. It took a few minutes for the two to land safely. They looked at each other with surprise in their eyes. "Two stinky brats. You're courting death. Hand over the treasure." While Kazan Shiki was getting used to lion fruit, a voice suddenly came from afar. The two couldn't help hearing the sound and watching. The bushes were cut open with a knife, and a bald pirate stepped out first, followed by a dozen burly men. Kazan recognized at a glance that this was the group of pirates who chased and killed the two brothers. The leading bald man hooked his fingers ferociously and said coldly, "Send the treasure to Lousy. Get down on your knees and admit your mistake. I can consider leaving a whole corpse for you two brats." Shiki's face changed slightly, and he turned to look at Kazan. "Brother, what should we do now?" Seeing Shiki winked upwards. Kazan knew that Shiki wanted to use the lion fruit to float up. Run away. However, Kazan knows that the law of the jungle is the law of the jungle. Now that the sword skills have been improved, counterattack is the only option. No matter how bad it is, there is also lion fruit. It came just in time. Kazan's whole aura suddenly changed, like a tiger in the forest, or like a wild wolf in the wilderness. 3 steps and 2 steps, a sudden attack directly aimed at a pirate. Elder brother. Seeing this, Shiki couldn't help but screamed, with his heart in his throat. You must know that although the 2 brothers are compatriots, there is still a big difference in physical fitness. Shiki inherited his father's rough appearance and strong physique, while Kazan inherited his mother's delicate appearance and wisdom. The big brother is smarter, and the younger brother is stronger. But now, it was the weak big brother who took the lead without hesitation at all. In front of everyone. Kazan's figure flashed, his lithe body jumped and approached and punched the pirate on the chin. At the same time as the pirate rose from the ground, Kazan pulled out the pirate's knife across his waist. Brush. The pirate's chest was cut open by the sword immediately. Blood spurted out, and he fell straight backwards. Boom. What? Seeing this scene, everyone present was shocked. A stinky kid who looks like 7 or 8 years old. How could he be so vicious? The pirates couldn't help laughing and stood there dumbfounded. What are you doing in a daze? Kill them for lousy. It's just 2 brats at most. With fierce eyes, the little pirate leader let out a loud shout. The pirate next to him immediately drew his knife, intending to step forward and kill Kazan. Swipe, swipe, swipe. In the same face-to-face meeting, several pirates flew out with blood pouring from their necks. The little pirate leader realized that he had gnawed a hard bone this time, and his eyes were full of unwillingness. What a fast knife. This brat has a problem. It's not worth it for a little money. Let's withdraw. The leader ran away, and the other pirates left the scene in embarrassment. Elder brother, you. Shiki pointed at the corpses on the ground, opened his mouth wide, and couldn't believe it. Is this still the big brother who only relies on his cleverness to steal and raise himself? Kazan put away the knife and came over. He patted Shiki, who was still in shock, and said with a smile, Don't worry, Shiki, if I don't do it, we will die. From today onwards, our brothers will go our own way. Strength is the best weapon against injustice. We brothers must become stronger. Okay. Although Shiki couldn't accept what happened today, but looking at Kazan's eyes, he believed his big brother without thinking. We're going to get used to what lion fruit is capable of quickly. Kazan stepped forward and collected the gold and silver in his hands. Hey! With a slight flick of his wrist, the gold and silver floated up. Feel the mark on it? Yeah. Shiki nodded. Shiki, we ate the same devil fruit and have the same ability. From now on, as long as we have a thought, we can levitate objects and even manipulate them to do anything. Try it first. 3003, brother, that's how lion fruit is used. 003, brother, that's how lion fruit is used. When we get used to this ability, we can go and wipe out that group of pirates just now. The previous state of the 2 was insufficient. So let those pirates escape. Regarding Kazan's plan, Shiki was obviously worried. Brother, are we really going to grab pirates? However, Shiki's eyes flashed with excitement immediately. Okay, no matter what, let's fuck them. Kazan picked up the samurai sword that the pirate had dropped from the ground. Picked 2 good-looking ones and threw them to Shiki. In the past, we had no ability to resist, so we could only live like mice. Now the situation is different. We have power. Didn't you always want to learn how to use swordsmanship? We can use their money after robbing pirates to find a dojo for you to learn swordsmanship. The money is far from enough. Count the stolen gold and silver. Kazan is estimated to be worth only tens of thousands of berry. This little money is not enough for the 2 brothers to survive for a long time. The reason why Kazan wants Shiki to go to the dojo to learn swordsmanship is not to teach him himself, but because his own swordsmanship is given by the system and may not be suitable for Shiki. From now on, the Piao Piao swordsman, who is so stunned by the situation, must walk out of his own way of the sword. A master of 2 swords. I really have some expectations after thinking about it. Here. Shiki tried it, and sure enough, he could easily levitate the knife. Perhaps the floating ability also gave him confidence. He gritted his teeth and said firmly, Brother, I feel that there is no problem. Act tonight, let's eat before we talk. Soon, the 2 brothers picked up the dry food on the ground. Regardless of whether it was soiled or not, and started to eat it. The two of them hadn't eaten such clean food for a long time. Money for survival. A stable environment. These two items are the most basic needs of the two brothers. After half a day, the two initially got used to lion fruit's ability. After Kazan became fluttering, he mastered rule. Without a little effort, you can direct a broken log weighing several tons to float in the air. But he couldn't uproot a living, tangled tree. Slowly, Kazan understood. The fluttering ability user wants to levitate a tree, or even an island. The first thing to do is to have great power to uproot them. You must have the ability to make the target a rootless thing in order to be able to manipulate it freely. Levitating rootless things is the initial ability of lion fruit. An idea popped into Kazan's head. So night fell. Two small figures sprang out from the shadow of the tree, and they were finally about to take action. Without even expending any effort, the two flew from the woods in the center of the island to the location of the pirate ship in the port. Flying has always been one of the rarest abilities. Came to the place, Kazan did not expect this. The pirate ship was not far away, and the warship of the Marine branch actually docked. I can't imagine that the warships of the two opposing forces are only separated by a few civilian ships. This scene is both real and ironic. In the process of falling, Kazan's eyes became sharp, and he stretched out his hand to feel the direction of the sea breeze. Shiki, go find the anchor under the pirate ship and cut the rope directly. Shiki dived down and started circling the pirate ship looking for an anchor. Kazan landed on the deck without a sound. It was dark. A few pirates were so drunk that they were lying on the deck in disorder, talking in their sleep, without any intention of being on guard. The flickering light of the fire shone on the plywood, and the rest of the pirates were inside the cabin, laughing wildly from time to time, and the sound of smashing bottles could be heard. Kazan raised the sails immediately after laying a planktonic imprint on the deck. After adjusting the direction, Kazan used the floating ability to slowly raise the entire pirate ship. The hull is rootless, and there is no requirement for physical strength. However, to move such a huge object, the power of the wind is still needed. Squeak! With a slight creaking sound, the entire pirate ship slowly left the sea. In a blink of an eye, it has risen to a height of 100 meters. As the sails were raised, the entire ship left the water in a short time and floated towards the land. If someone looked up, they would see the pirate ship at this time, like a ghost walking at night. At this time, a pirate wearing a turban staggered out of the cabin, holding a wine bottle. Boo, boo, boo. Boo, boo, boo. The pirate closed his eyes slightly, whistled, came to the deck railing, and took off his pants facing the outside of the ship. Maybe men have a subconscious mind to point and hit. The pirate also used the moonlight to stare at the place where he was about to attack. Comfortable, the happiest moment in life is peeing into the sea. But when he found that the bottom was no longer the sea, but full of black and gray tree shadows, the pirate's mind instantly sobered up. Fuck, what the hell is this? Why is our ship on land? Realizing that the situation was wrong, the pirate turned his head and shouted towards the cabin. You all come out and have a look. What's going on? I'm hell on my mother's night, the ship is flying. And soon he was blocked by a ghost-like figure. Kazan floated down with his head down and his feet up. Following the headscarf pirate made a goodbye gesture. You go down. Boom. With a small gesture by Kazan, the whole boat lost its buoyancy in an instant. Shaking, it quickly fell downwards. With a sudden drop of the hull, the pirate, who was already scared and could not stop urinating, was directly smeared with stinky urine. Just a few seconds. A muffled sound came from the ground, and a huge burst of smoke and dust erupted in the night. Boom. The pirate group's ship was completely shattered into pieces. Shiki flew over and saw Kazan's operation. He was shocked and speechless. How easy is it to kill someone? Everyone in the pirate group was wiped out in an instant. It turns out that lion fruit is used in this way. The light is too dark at night, and the accident site is in a dense forest with few people. So the two brothers found a tree branch at random and fell asleep. The next day, a fish belly has just appeared on the sea level. The two brothers got up and began to work together. Hey! With the sound of lion fruit, pieces of planks, keels, and fragments of the hull float to the side. Brother, come on, here's a big piece of gold. Brother, here. Brother, now we are rich. So much treasure. Shiki's eyes widened. He had never seen so much money. It took the two brothers half an hour to finally count the spoils. This vote. The two got a treasure of at least 4 million Baileys. If there is no extravagance and waste, it is enough for the two of them to survive for several years. Kazan found a good suitcase and put the treasure in it. With the help of lion fruit, lifting heavy objects is a breeze. Adjusted after a few days, the two brothers boarded a merchant ship and moved on to the next goal. During this time, Kazan inquired about the small town of Tolster, which has a swordsmanship dojo. It is relatively stable, and the swordsmanship teacher is also the best in the nearby sea area, which is most suitable for Shiki, who has no foundation. There he intends to spend a few years, giving Shiki the basics of fencing. Nuxus is the hometown of the two. In fact, to count, there is actually a marine station in the town. But because he couldn't afford the money, Marine acquiesced in allowing the pirates to burn, kill, and loot on the island as long as they stopped committing crimes under their noses. What I saw yesterday, the warship and the pirate ship parked together, is proof. Marines and pirates are in the same boat, making Nuxus the most dangerous island in the vicinity. Kazan had planned. When the two brothers grow up, they will turn back and make the Nuxus Marine 123 branch pay the price. For 004, then enjoy the wonderful program. 004. The strong should have no scruples. A few years passed in a blink of an eye. Inside a self-built wooden house on Tihu Mountain in the small town of Taurus. The house is full of rough tables and chairs, on which there are many yards of neat books, piled up in piles. Now Kazan has just turned 13 years old, with blonde hair falling behind him like a waterfall, and the glittering gold looks particularly arrogant. In terms of appearance alone, Kazan is definitely a beautiful boy type, with exquisite facial features and extravagance everywhere. Only. On the other hand, the younger brother, Shiki, grows more and more hockey and develops towards the direction of bone surprise day by day. Obviously, two brothers, the sense of genetic tearing is too strong. If it weren't for the explosion of flowing blonde hair, Kazan will wonder if the two were brothers. After closing the book, a system voice sounded in his mind. Ding! Host, read the fairy tale of the Big Tail King Roland. Experience value plus 8,000. Do you want to add an entry? Don't add entries for now. Open the panel. Host Kazan. Swordsmanship. LV 50 410/600000. Fortune 23. Experience value 430,000 points. I didn't expect to be able to read North Blue's comic strips in West Blue, but it seems that I will go to the book market to buy more books in the future. New reading materials are very attractive to a scholar. However, even after 5 years have passed, there are still no new entries on the panel. It seems that reading can increase experience points, but the chance of adding entries is very low. Because no new entries were added, Kazan saved some experience points in case subsequent entries suddenly appeared. But it counts. He already has the 3-masted sailing chapter, Zoro's swordsmanship, when he defeated the zombie Ryoma. While Kazan was thinking, a figure flew into the house and sat cross-legged next to Kazan. Perhaps influenced by Wanakuni's swordsmanship teacher, Shiki's clothing is quite huffa. He has long hair as thick as a lion's mane and 2 common knives hanging from his waist, but the whole person looks majestic. Shiki's swordsmanship talent is very high, definitely belongs to the ranks of geniuses. The kendo gym he works in does not have a teacher who is good at the two-sword style, and the teachers he worships are ordinary swordsmen. But even without the guidance of a famous teacher, Shiki still lays a solid foundation with his understanding of swordsmanship, and also created his own swordsmanship using the two-sword style. Over the years, Shiki's swordsmanship has improved rapidly through sparring with big brother Kazan. Shiki is also concentrating on the development of lion fruit and has been able to manipulate some large objects. It can easily pull up a big tree and spin a sailboat. However, Kazan's situation is a little different. His fruit development progress is not as good as Shiki's, his physique is not as strong as Shiki's, and his height is also 10 centimeters shorter. But because of the fact that he added experience points to the swordsmanship entry, Kazan's swordsmanship is a bit better than Shiki's. In addition, Kazan felt that the one-sword style was more violent, so he didn't plan to use 2 swords. Perhaps because of the system, lion fruit is not afraid of the side effects of seawater. As for Sea Stone, he hasn't encountered it yet, so he doesn't know. Jiahahaha. Shiki was naturally happy when he got home and said with a smile, "Brother, I told the dojo teacher not to practice swords again. When are we going to set off? I can't wait to get the Marine of Nuxus. Paramecia is not invincible. There's so many people in the Marine branch, and guns will also pose a threat to us." Kazan thought for a while. Be careful and make plans on the road. Pack up and go. There is no doubt that the Marine is the most violent institution in the entire world. They have established branches all over the world, and their configuration specifications are much higher than those of pirates and civilians. But the Marine of Nuxus only protects the rich who pay. Kazan broods about this, which is why he's determined to teach Marine a lesson. In fact, there are many wealthy businessmen living in the town of Nuxus, and they provide a lot of money to the 123rd branch of the Marine every year. The merchants and even residents in the small town also regularly give the Mafia protection money. But in the final analysis, the Mafia and Marines gang, in the end, most of the money went to Marine's pocket. Because of this, the small town slowly got a resident certificate. Poor people are not qualified to live in small towns at all. Kazan and Shiki's family was also in the small town. Their grandparents and parents were all indigenous residents of the town. However, when the brothers were 5 years old, their parents encountered a storm when they went out to sea, and the couple were swallowed by the sea. The sudden blow directly shattered the family. It didn't take long for the Kazan brothers to cut off their income. After selling all their furniture, it was difficult to maintain the cost of the resident certificate. The outskirts have long been a place of lawlessness. Pirates are everywhere, and the dense forest is already full of corpses. Can't imagine. The two children suffered so much in hiding in order to survive in those years. At noon, the two brothers took a boat to the port where the Marine 123 branch in Nuxus town was located. Walking on the street, Kazan looked at everything around him. There are 3 warships docked at the port, and the Marine branch is 100 meters away. Marine has surrounded the most prosperous part of the town and built a tall office building. Inside the taverns on both sides of the street, there are pirates everywhere. Some are even toasting with Marine soldiers. It seems that the whole city has acquiesced in the existence of pirates, just because anyone who can live in the town can afford the protection fee. Therefore, they are also very safe around the pirates. A bunch of moths. Kazan said, "Shiki, we keep one of the best warships for our own use." "Yeah." Shiki nodded. "I'm going to put a floating mark on it." After several years of getting along, Shiki knew that his big brother's temperament had changed. Under his gentle appearance, there was an extremely cold and meticulous heart. Kazan did everything slowly, as if he knew that he would definitely achieve what he wanted result. Shiki is very impressed by his powerful scheming. In a minute, Kazan sensed 3 floating imprints. Then, enjoy the wonderful show. P.S. Write Golden Lion. Does anyone read Jinhao's book? The little author is asking for some data, even a flower. 5005. I will not allow you to point a gun at my brother. 005. I will not allow you to point a gun at my brother. Boom. At the moment, Kazan is standing in the middle of the street, surrounded by motley crowds on both sides. He suddenly raised his hand slightly. Then, the 2 warships not far away were suddenly pulled up and began to float towards the air continuously. 5 meters, 10 meters, 50 meters. The splashing sea water dripped down from both sides of the warship, stirring up layers of waves on the sea surface. Marine, who didn't know why, stood on the deck in a panic, at a loss, and some chose to jump into the sea to escape. The human body fell from a high altitude into the sea like hailstones. Taverns, shops. People ran out in a panic, looking up constantly. What happened to the warships? They actually flew up. It's scary. What kind of power is this? This is it. Run. It feels like the warship is on the verge of falling, and it's about to fall. The huge shadow of the warship moved slowly, like the Saul's a Titan, spreading across the entire street. People hugged their heads and dodged. Now Kazan or Shiki can control the movement of floating objects, but such a move requires a lot of physical strength. Fortunately, the branch is near the port, so it doesn't take much effort to move to a specific location. When the 2 warships arrived over the Marine branch, all the Marines were terrified. They fled from the branch to the streets like mice, panting among the crowd. What the hell? What happened? Bang, bang, bang. Some irascible Marines smelled of alcohol, picked up their muskets, and shot at the warships indiscriminately. But after all the bullets were fired, it still couldn't stop the warship from moving forward. No. Kazan saw that the position was almost there and flipped his wrist instantly. Call out. The two warships lost their ability to float, and gravity forced them to spin and fall. The sails painted with the Marine logo at this moment were torn apart by the wind, the ropes snapped, and the Marine flag fluttered and slid down. The doomsday-like scene caused everyone below to scramble and crawl to escape. Rumble. Boom, boom, boom. The huge warship smashed on the main building of the Marine branch and was deeply trapped in it. The gunpowder on the ship detonated, and a violent explosion occurred. The building stones flew randomly, and the smoke and dust rolled in, filling the entire street, killing many Marines. It's over. The branch was blown up. Who did it? There are no pirate ships on the sea. Impossible. There will be no pirates in the nearby waters who would dare to attack Marine. The last warship, don't let any more accident happen. Before everyone was terrified, the third warship suddenly floated up. Only. The rate of rise of this warship is very slow, and stopped at a position about 10 meters away from the sea. The fate of the first two warships was in front of them, and the Marines on the ship jumped towards the sea immediately when they saw the change. Who wants to be smashed to pieces when they can jump into the sea? This is exactly what Kazan wanted. Clear all Marines from the warship. At this time, a young man boarded the bow, Gold's hair fluttering in the wind, holding a pair of knives in his hands and looking down. Shiki is looking for Kazan on the street. Over there. It should be almost there. On the streets of the port, Marine is in a mess. Kazan stood in the middle of Marine calmly. Then, there was a roar behind him. Bastard, who the hell is this blonde brat? It's still demon fruit power. The person who spoke was the colonel of the Marine 123 branch, Sigram. The rank of colonel is the highest official in the world. And since Esgram was transferred to the 123 branch, the whole town has started trading with pirates, and the atmosphere has changed drastically. The former Kazan, I have seen him killing civilians on the street more than once. At this time, a Marine soldier came to the front and reported nervously, Colonel Esgram, the warship is flying. What should we do? Damn it, this bastard can fly, and it can't be shot down at all. Most of West Blue's Marines do not have the ability to fly like moonwalk. For pirates who can fly, there is no other way except to use guns to make fun of them. It's just a stinky brat. He just used Devil Fruit's bluff. He didn't dare to come down at all. With a cigar in his mouth crookedly, Sigram smashed the wine bottle in his hand, grabbed the rifle from the Marine soldier, pointed at Shiki in the sky, and shouted angrily, "Get the cannon out for Lousy, Mr. Lousy. Let him taste the bullet." Yes. After giving the order, Esgram aimed his gun at Shiki. Just at this time, Kazan, who was hiding in the crowd, made a sudden move. Like ghosts and gods, he came behind Sigram. The next moment, Kazan stabbed Esgram right through. "Colonel, I'm always here. Be careful behind you." Hearing some immature voices in his ears, Sigram's eyelids trembled, and his eyeballs looked down at the bright red tip of the knife, which was slowly emerging from his heart. This moment, the cigar, the gun, and the arm were all falling down feebly. What am I? I just don't allow you to point a gun at my brother. Kazan drew his knife and kicked Sigram over, then wiped the knife clean on the word justice behind it. At this moment, Marine was completely flustered. They drew out their swords one after another to confront the blonde kid who suddenly appeared. But what? Kazan's swordsmanship level is already very high, and Shiki flew down to help. The two brothers worked together, and in just a few greetings, they killed more than 20 Marines who took the lead, and the splashed blood stained the entire port square. The blood flowed in the cracks of the ground, and there was a bloody smell. The two brothers were not willing to stop until all the Marines dared not step forward. Seeing that things are over, the two brothers flew towards the sky without looking back. The warship sailed across the sky, leaving a black shadow on the people on the ground. There's no point in staying here. The sea is vast. Whether it is a pirate or a Marine, it is impossible to kill. There is no need, and it is impossible to kill them all. Seeing the two brothers leave, all Marines and residents collapsed on the spot and screamed. Looking at the figures of the two golds, a resident said tremblingly, "It's them. They are demons. They are those two blonde-haired little devils from Uepu's family." 6006. Bounty O'Hara, famous in the sea. 006. Bounty O'Hara, famous in the sea. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. The geographical location of Marineford is extremely special. It is not only below the city of Mariewa, where the world government is located, but also above the subsea passage leading to the Fishman Island in the second half of the Grand Line. These two important attributes make Marineford the city that guards the two main traffic routes' strategic location. Of course, in terms of actual distance, Sabaody Island is closer and has a higher strategic position. But Marine, as a subsidiary force of Mariewa, naturally serves the nobles of celestial dragons. Where is Sabaody Island? It is the island with the best scenery in the world. At the same time, it is backed by the Red Line, and there is no bad weather such as typhoon all year round. Celestial Dragons has already regarded Sabaody Island as their back garden, an auction house where money is squandered. Marines are not eligible to build giant fortresses on Celestial Dragons' lands, no matter how good the strategic location is. So, Marine developed a deserted island full of rocks a long time ago, which is Marineford. It also makes this the main hub of Marine. Every Marine Supreme Officer is stationed at the headquarters. Megatron Quartet suppressed the entire Grand Line. But it is worth mentioning that there are pirates every year, but later the Ocean Overlord rocks, later the Pirate King Roger. Such a hero who can start a great era is really rare. The current time period. Although the pirates are rampant, a few pirates with a bounty of hundreds of millions will pop up from time to time, but they all fight on their own, and they can't make a difference. Rox, the ambitious pioneer pirate, has yet to emerge. Pirates, in the final analysis, are just small forces and small groups entrenched by various parties. So, compared with the era of great voyages opened by Roger, the Marine of today's time period is relatively loose in military discipline. Its combat personnel have not reached its peak, and its generals are also young. Of course, the position of Marine Marshal is currently only an idea within Marine. As for Zephyr, Sengoku Garp, the old group of backbones who can be named are not known in which corner of the sea to develop. It is estimated that it will take a few years to emerge. Meanwhile, the highest rank in Naval Headquarters is Marine Admiral. Currently, there is only one, namely Compy. Inside Marine Admiral's office at this time, Kong, beardless, clutches a telegram from West Blue. His brows were frowned, so deep that the long-legged mosquitoes would be crushed to death. Seeing that the generals from the headquarters had arrived, Kong knocked on the table with anger in his tone. West Blue sent a telegram saying that the 123rd branch of our West Blue's Nuxus town was destroyed by 2 pirates, and the branch building was completely destroyed. Colonel Sigram and 24 Marine elites were destroyed, people hacked and killed in the street. A total of 59 Marines died and 37 were injured in the accident. Colonel is the pinnacle of Marines' military rank in the 4 seas, and is the supreme commander. Such a general was killed by the pirates in the street, which is undoubtedly a severe slap in the face of Marine. Kong's voice fell. The surrounding Marine generals took a breath, their expressions extremely exciting. This is a bad incident. It's provoking our Marine. What kind of pirate dares to challenge our West Blue Marine? Damn, this kind of thing is creepy, unheard of. That's a colonel, and he was executed on the street. Are all the pirates in West Blue this rampant? Kong said with a cold face. The perpetrators are 2 children, 2 brats who are only 13 years old. Hiss. What? Hearing this, the surrounding vice admiral's eyes widened, and his voice was completely silent. 13-year-old kid? Are you sure it's not the wrong information? How can it be? One's name is Kazan, and the other is Shiki. Both of them have demon fruit power, and they seem to be able to control warships to hit the branch, and they can also fly, which is definitely a headache. Kong threw a stack of documents on the table, all of which were Kazan and Shiki's childhood experiences. The surrounding residents confirmed that the 2 brothers are from Nuxus, and there is no problem with the information. Perhaps it is not uncommon for 2 13-year-olds to eat devil fruit. But their logic of action is really ridiculous. If it is petty theft or even murder, even if the other party is a 3-year-old child, Kong can understand it. After all, the sea is inherently chaotic, and murders are not uncommon. Many thieves started from children. But destroy a Marine branch in the blink of an eye. Kill the last Colonel Marine West Blue in public. Almost wiped out all the vitality of a branch, done by 2 13-year-old children. Such a thing is unbelievable when you think about it. If it were anyone, they would wonder if they really heard it wrong. Those pirates with a bad reputation dare not do this. Sky Admiral, issue a wanted warrant. This kind of brat is born evil and must not stay. Yes, this kind of devil's son must be killed in the cradle. The vice admirals in the office gave their opinions one by one. The facts are right in front of him, and Kong has exactly the same meaning. However, considering the crazy things the two little devils have done, and the strange devil fruit ability, Kong is also having a headache. How much should the initial bounty of the two little devils be? In New World, a huge warship floats on the sea. This ship originally belonged to the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, a warship in Gasco. At this moment, it is occupied by a mysterious man. A burly man with a jet-black afro and holding a simple famous knife stood on the deck. On the deck behind him were decapitated corpses whose blood had dried up. He looked at the reward order in his hand. The corners of his mouth cracked wildly, and there were bursts of strange smiles in his mouth. Wong, ha 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 ha. Interesting. Is it in West Blue? Marine's face is lost. The whole sea is shaking. It's getting more and more interesting. 2 13-year-old brats can do such earth-shattering things. The sea in the future really makes people look forward to it. Ha ha ha. Ridiculous. How ridiculous. West Blue, hundreds of meters high. A warship is sailing steadily. Waves, ocean currents, wind. These elements have always been praised by the world of pirates because they are the most important power source of the sea and carry the key elements of the wonderful chapter of the sea. As long as you raise the sails and ride the waves, the ship can sail, no matter in the sea or in the air. Over the years, Kazan has also learned a lot of sailing knowledge because of a lot of reading. So, it is very simple to use the power of the wind to sail a floating warship. Shiki sat on the empty deck, looking at his wanted warrant in a daze. Photos. Wanted. Are alive, regardless of life or death. Shiki, BJ 200 000 00-20 million berry. Main, published by Marine. Handsome photos. Wanted. Are alive, regardless of life or death. Kazan, BJ 400 000 00-40 million berry. Main, published by Marine. What kind of broken photography? This bird's technology is not good, and it is still shameless to publish it. Shiki cursed, dissatisfied with the photo on his reward order. Then he looked at Kazan standing on the bow and said, "Brother, you are right. We are wanted by Marine." The two brothers did such a thing, and they had already expected the result. Kazan said, how much is our bounty? I'm 20 million berry. Hey, is my head so valuable? But brother, your head seems to be more expensive. It's already 40 million berry. Shiki still couldn't believe it when the bounty came. It may be the reason why I killed the colonel. In addition, we are demon fruit power. In the era when prices have not risen, the initial bounty has reached tens of millions, which is already a high bounty. Brother, is there still a place for us in this world? Shiki, we don't have to worry about how things will go. You see, this warship has sufficient supplies and all the necessary configurations. It is enough for us to survive for a long time. Besides, as long as it is strong enough, the entire sea will be destroyed in the future. It's our backyard. Only others fear us, so we can go wherever we want. What we want is not a shelter, but a grand plan. Shiki also agreed with Kazan's words. Brother, I wrote it down, although neither of them are very strong right now. But since Kazan let Shiki learn swordsmanship, Shiki seems to have found the backbone and the direction to become stronger. From a moment when he was concerned about the homeless kid who would die tomorrow, he became ambitious. At the same time, Shiki is also deeply aware. As long as the fist is strong and the knife is sharp, there is really nothing that cannot be done or dare not be done. A broken reward, what a big deal. This is not. A marine branch can be easily taken down by the two brothers, changed to a path that has never been imagined before. But using a warship to smash Marine's branch, in retrospect, Shiki felt a burst of relief. So cool. Shiki now dares to pat his chest to assure that the warship he snatched is the most luxurious place he has ever lived in. There are not only large and bright rooms in the cabin, but also more than enough to live in. There are some kitchen utensils in the kitchen. Never seen it. It can even make people fall in love with cooking. And those marine food reserves, everything is delicious and fascinating. Brother, where are we going now? Shiki put away the excitement in his heart and asked. He knew that Kazan was definitely not a careless person. Maybe before he set off, his big brother had already made a comprehensive plan. And it will definitely be a seamless great plan. Looking at Shiki, who is getting better, Kazan laughed and said, O'Hara, 7007, brother vowed never to go to the island. 007, brother vowed never to go to the island. O'Hara, what the hell place? Shiki asked curiously. That's why I want you to read more. Kazan complained. O'Hara is a famous archaeological shrine in West Blue and a scholar's paradise. And O'Hara also has the world's largest collection of books, the Tree of Omniscience. For Kazan, who needs to read the upgrade, Oja's status definitely belongs to the Holy Land level. So, Kazan had set out to learn all about O'Hara during the years he had been learning swordsmanship with Shiki, including position, course, ocean current, wind direction. The moment the warship sails, the destination is set to be O'Hara. Kazan doesn't care about his identity as a pirate at all. Although the bounty is down, will scholars pay attention to the news of the arrest warrant? Of course not. Besides, I didn't go to O'Hara on this trip to destroy it. Considering that the two brothers are only 13 years old, no matter how powerful they are, no matter how crazy things they do at such a young age, they will not be convincing. In addition, the various influential figures in the sea are scattered, and it is still possible to leave the area. Morning. It is difficult for two brats to recruit crew members. In this way, a Sluffy waited until the age of 17 to go to sea is also the reason. So, staying in O'Hara for a while becomes Kazan's thing to do. Unconsciously, warships roared past like the wind. The two brothers are getting closer and closer to their destination. At this time, in Kazan's mind, the system's active notification sound finally sounded again. Ding! It is detected that host is about to pass through the Holy Land of Archaeology, O'Hara. Experience value plus 50,000, fortune plus 20. Congratulations to host for getting a new entry. Observation hockey. Congratulations to host for getting a new entry. Armament hockey. Congratulations to host for getting a new entry. Lion fruit. Hiss. When the system sound fell, Kazanjing's Shindu was vibrated. 3 entries. The system actually gives so many entries. Not in vain of the reading values that I have accumulated before. Moreover, the new entries given this time are just right. Kazan knew that. He has a system and can become stronger in a stable environment. But younger brother Shiki won't. This trip to O'Hara is a treasure trove of upgrades for me. But sure, for G, can only be regarded as finding a safe place to settle temporarily. It is far from improving as fast as fighting all kinds of pirates on the sea. But awakening new entries, the situation is different. With the observation hockey and armament hockey entries, Kazan has learned 2-color hockey. He can share some experience with Shiki, so that he can also get in touch with the advanced combat skills on the sea in advance, sowing the seeds of the strong early. Immediately, Kazan opened the panel and said silently, System, I want to add points. Add all the remaining experience points to the 3 newly obtained entries. Ding! Adding points is complete. Host Kazan. Swordsmanship. LV 50 410/600000. Observation hockey. LV 18 22/250000. Armament hockey. LV 18 22/250000. Paramecia lion fruit. LV 15 85/180000. Fortune 43. Experience value 0. In the entire One Piece world, fighting methods can be classified as taijutsu, swordsmanship, hockey, devil fruit. These 4 big skills are very important. Kazan decided to give priority to swordsmanship, hockey, and devil fruit. As for gymnastics, let's not say that the gymnastics entry has not yet appeared. Even if it does appear, Kazan has a good knowledge of swordsmanship, and he is not in a hurry to spend time on physical skills. Because swordsmanship also includes some body skills. Brother, there is an island in front of me. This is the first time I have seen such a huge tree. This is too crazy. Shiki stood at the bow of the boat, looking down at everything below, his face full of amazement. A look that has never seen the world. Is this O'Hara? Shiki asked curiously. That's right. Kazan explained O'Hara's situation to Shiki. By the time the explanation was over, the two had reached the sky above O'Hara. He controlled the warship to descend towards a promontory. The island of O'Hara is not very big, and the shade of the Tree of Omniscience occupies half of the island. The people on the island are all scholars, and the fireworks are relatively rare. The village is very small. And dock the warship at the mouth of the cape, instead of choosing the lake on the island. One is that Kazan didn't want the residents of O'Hara to see strange things like warships falling from the sky, and avoided unnecessary trouble. The second is that the mouth of the cape can be very good for concealing ships. While staying away from the island residents, it can also avoid being hit by strong winds, and it also prevents passing sailboats from noticing that there is a warship docked at O'Hara. Furthermore, this marine warship is a relatively advanced living place, so it is simply kept. After the warship stops steadily, Kazan asked Shiki to anchor the boat. Just as Shiki was carefree, excited, with a samurai sword dangling at his waist, and was about to land on the island, Kazan suddenly stopped him and said, "Shiki, you look so scary. The island is full of scholars, so don't go to the island." Shiki pointed at his wanted notice and growled, "No, brother, am I so scary? Don't doubt yourself, Shiki. Are you still my brother?" Kazan directly threw his saber to Shiki. "This reef is very flat. You can practice swordsmanship well. Remember not to make too much noise. I will first go to familiarize myself with the cultural environment of the island, and then consider whether to let you landing on the island." Shiki said perfunctorily, Yes, I just stay here." Kazan, "I will teach you some advanced combat skills later." Shiki, "Brother, I swear to never go to the island." 8008. Holy Land. Constant surprises. 008. Constant surprises. When Kazan stepped onto the island, he could see the Tree of Omniscience at a glance. Along the way, there is no need to ask the local residents for directions. However, the scholars couldn't help but look curiously at the stranger who came to the island suddenly. Fortunately, although Kazan's long gold hair is more eye-catching, but that handsome face is completely a gentle and scholarly face. The 4 characters of a good man in the world seem to be pasted on his forehead, which makes people feel good at first sight. Therefore, he had no trouble along the way. Even some female academics also nodded to Kazan. Just as Kazan came under the Tree of Omniscience, he marveled at the size and majesty of the tree in front of him. A person with strange hair came to Kazan and asked, "You are an outsider. I am Clover, an island scholar. Excuse me, what is the reason why you came to our O'Hara?" Clover. When Kazan heard this name, he was inexplicably familiar. Search past life memories. He guessed that the other party was the future Dr. Clover. He is also the curator of the Library of the Future Omniscient Tree. In the Sea Circle calendar in 1494, Clover studied the information of the ancient giant kingdom. He was impressed by the idea of the giant kingdom. In order to leave his thoughts to the future, he sent a historical text research team and asked Nicole Albia to leave O'Hara to explore. 6 years later, in 1500, Mary Awa discovered the text of O'Hara's research history. Then the island of O'Hara suffered a blow from Buster Call, the Tree of Omniscience collapsed, and all scholars died. In all of O'Hara, only 8-year-old Nico Robin survived. Regarding O'Hara's tragic experience, Kazan couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Mary Awa has ruled the world for 800 years, but there is no effect at all. The whole sea has become more chaotic because of the existence of Mary Awa, a superpower, and the thinking is indeed backward. At this moment, Kazan looked at the image of the person in front of him. He is about 25 or 16 years old, with light green hair extending out like 2 elephant ears at the back of his head. The hair on the top of his head has been shaved, and he has a short cut, but there is a bunch of green hair on the back of his head, which rises to the sky like a fruit base and rise to match that pinch of round mustache. It's Clover, that's right. Kazan said, "My name is Kazan, I am a scholar, and I came to the Tree of Omniscience to seek knowledge." Clover said, "Scholars are welcome on our island, but unfamiliar scholars are not welcome. Although I know your name is Kazan, and you also know my name is Clover, please go back." Although Kazan has a good student face, he is still suspected by Clover. The Tree of Omniscience is the most important existence of O'Hara, the holy place among the holy places. The purpose of hearing Kazan is to come to the Tree of Omniscience. The Clover has grown a few eyes. "Clover, I don't think this scholar looks like a bad guy. What does a librarian interfere with? His fate should be decided by the curator of Austrian science." The female scholar next to him reminded. As soon as Clover heard it, she knew that she was favoring Kazan and dissatisfied. Knowledge can't be sloppy. Kazan did not expect that he would be blocked before entering the Tree of Omniscience. Thinking of the poems I read in my previous life, I subconsciously read it. The road is long, and I will search up and down. Now that I have come to O'Hara, I will not give up easily. Kazan's voice fell. The surrounding scholars, Clover, were stunned, and the walking scholars also stopped in place. The expression is intoxicated, as if reminiscing about what Kazan said. There is a long way to go. I will search up and down. There is actually a desire to explore. Clover pondered over and over again, and even fell into it, understanding the meaning of every word Kazan said. When he came back to his senses, he said, "Ahem, after today, you and I are friends. Clover welcomes you on behalf of O'Hara, Kazan scholar. How contagious is knowledge?" From China saw. Can dimensionality reduction hit the scholars of O'Hara? Could you recommend the curator of the Tree of Omniscience now? Finally, Kazan was recognized by the local scholars of O'Hara because of a line of Li Sao's poem. He also followed the current librarian Dr. Aksu as he wished, and obtained the qualification to enter the Tree of Omniscience, the world's largest library of books. And after entering the Tree of Omniscience, Kazan was a little stunned. Yes, shocked. The air in the library is filled with the scent of ink and paper, and the heavy atmosphere of history blows against our faces. Because the library is too big, the construction is based on the natural hollowing out of the Tree of Omniscience. The hole is circular, with a huge and empty tree hole in the center, and a large number of books densely arranged around it. The whole building is tens of meters high and has several floors. Some floors are natural stairs carved by trees, and some books are stored on the tree walls. It is necessary to build a ladder of more than 10 meters to reach the books in the tree hole. Not to mention the collection of books in the Tree of Omniscience. There are all kinds of colorful covers, and there are many kinds of texts, and the number is countless. The big books are exaggerated to 4 or 5 meters long and wide, and each letter is as big as a human head. Small books, only the size of a fingernail, may not be readable with a magnifying glass. The Book of Titan Country, the Book of Lilliputian Country. Kazan, who awakened the experience system, being able to stay in this kind of place is no different from enjoying it. The system is humming. And after observing the Tree of Omniscience for the first time, Kazan was also allowed to get a job as a librarian here as well. This job, it is to help organize the books that have been placed neatly every day. Books that are already clean need to be dusted once a month. Of course, this work is voluntary labor and free of charge. Talking about money with academics is vulgar. However, in the next few months, Kazan was awarded a scholar certificate by the Doctor of Oxyology because of his good character, conversation, and rich experience, and even awarded him a scholar hat. It's like the kind of bachelor's hat you rent when you graduate from college. At the same time, Kazan has also obtained the qualification to read all the books of the Tree of Omniscience. Certainly, Kazan has also seen ancient texts like historical texts, but he cannot read or study them. This made him guess that reading ancient characters is the unique blood ability of Oha scholars or people like the Three-Eyed Tribe, and outsiders do not have this gene. However, now this time, even though some ancient writings are there, scholars have not deliberately studied them. Kazan naturally wouldn't either. He just felt that the carriage of the times hadn't reached the designated location yet. So, Kazan didn't waste time on ancient texts and concentrated on roaming the ocean of knowledge. It's worth saying, each of O'Hara's books is fresh and a great asset. Kazan can gain a lot of experience points every time he reads it. Read more, walk more. The divine great experience system is right. Knowledge is the best weapon for the brain. Ding! Host read Homer Epic. Experience value plus 120,000. Host read A Brief History of Murlocs. Experience value plus 155,000. Host reads The Poem of the Sea. Experience value plus 360,000. Congratulations to host for getting a new entry. Portable space, 100 cubic meters. Congratulations to host for getting a new entry. Constitution. Congratulations to host for getting a new entry. Conqueror's Hockey. Congratulations to host for getting a new entry. Knowledge Color Feature Branch for Seeing the Future. Congratulations to host for obtaining a new entry. Armed Color Characteristic Branch Flow. Emission. P.S. Emission is Hockey's name in Wano Kuni, and in fact, emission and armed color are the same thing. Just like Demon Fruit Power, the outside world calls it an ability user, and Wanakuni is called a sorcerer. Emission and Hockey are just called differently. Also, arming colors do exist in different phases. Simply put, beginners cover the body surface and weapons with armed colors to increase defense and attack power. A further step is to let Hockey flow. Wrap around the fist of the weapon, and attack in the air, which is more powerful. A further step is to let Haki be released, penetrate into the object, destroy it, and explode with power. 9009. Reading alone while farming alone. 009. Reading alone while farming alone. Year after year, time flows. In the blink of an eye, 5 years have passed. Brother Zanka is 18 years old and already a 2-meter-tall teenager. This day, the ethereal figure of Kazan shuttles inside the library of the Tree of Omniscience. He dusted all the books. Then go meet the librarian, Dr. Oxygen. See you. The doctor of oxyology who was reading put down his book, took off his heavy glasses and asked, Kazan, are you sure you want to leave? Yes, oxynologist. This is the list of books you need for your travels. We at O'Hara accept books donated by world scholars. There are notes on the source of each book. You can buy those rare books you haven't read as long as you find a marked place.books. It took a lot of effort for Dr. Oxygen to come up with a thick custom book and give it to Kazan. Scholars are a very rigorous group of people. They have an unparalleled love for books. When O'Hara's own scholars find books, or when external scholars donate books, they will write the origin of the books, the collection process, and the stories behind them, made a collection. In this way, if the book is lost, it can be obtained again from somewhere. Part of the knowledge inheritance. Some of O'Hara's books are out of print. These books are Kazan's focus on strategies in recent years. As for other mass-produced books that can be purchased all over the world, he plans to buy and read slowly when he travels to the sea. But even so, O'Hara still has some out-of-print books that Kazan has not read. But time waits for no one. It's time to go to the sea. Here, Dr. Oxygen knew Kazan's thirst for knowledge, so he prepared this farewell gift. Some books were duplicated, and Dr. Oxygen gave this part directly to Kazan. Thank you, Kazan thanked. What a good boy. Dr. Oxygen reassured. Having just bid farewell to the Doctor of Oculus, Kazan came to the shade of the Tree of Omniscience. At this time, Clover brought a silver-haired girl to the front. Kazan, have you decided to leave yet? Thank you for taking care of me these years. Kazan smiled. Is Kazan Big Brother really leaving? Shouldn't he be leaving? The girl with silver and white hair hugged Kazan's thigh. Tears rolled in her eyes. She was pitiful and pitiful. Nicole Albia. A native of O'Hara, she's just 3 years old. At this age, she is a bit mature compared to other children, and her personality is much calmer and calmer. He is cold to the people around him, but very warm to Kazan. It may be that Kazan is relatively sunny. During the years on the island, she was often pestered by Albia to tell stories. Several times, she got into Kazan's blonde hair and slept in secretly. Slowly, the two became happy and playful friends. Albia rubbed the silver ball head. Kazan said with a smile, when Albia grows up, she may also need to go to the world to find new knowledge. Really? Certainly. Kazan Big Brother, shall we meet again then? Certainly. Kazan and Albia, you put the Clover aside. Then, Clover hesitated to speak. Clover pulled Kazan aside nervously. We all know that you came to O'Hara on a warship, so there's a question I've always wanted to ask you. Is your true identity those Marine? Clover has always had doubts about Kazan's purpose here. However, Kazan was too kind on the island, and Clover has been difficult to speak. It is always impossible to say your motivation for going to the island is not pure. See? Kazan whispered, well, I'm actually a pirate, and the warship was also stolen. What? Pirates. Pirates who snatch warships. Clover was so surprised that she quickly covered her mouth for fear of screaming the word pirate. The residents of O'Hara are relatively simple, but it does not mean that they are heartless. Clover is the one with the most eyes. Kazan has been observed by Clover since the moment Kazan came to the island a few years ago. Only, the more Clover observes, the more she feels that Kazan is a very nice friend. Hearing Kazan reveal his identity at this moment, Clover's eyes were naturally full of disbelief. Scholars are indeed pure and thoughtful, but there are not many of them. Kazan laughed and said, what's the matter with pirates? We're friends too, right? Identity is more of an outsider's opinion. It's up to you to decide who you really want to be. The Clover froze in place. However, he also believed Kazan's explanation. After all, even if the opponent is a pirate, he is still a knowledgeable pirate. With knowledge leading the way, he shouldn't be considered a bad person, right? Clover waved her hand. Forget it, let's go. You leave O'Hara. Remember, never give O'Hara trouble. Kazan was a little embarrassed. Am I going to cause trouble for O'Hara? Albia said angrily. Uncle Clover, how can you push people away like this? You're not polite at all. Clover's hair was going to explode in anger. No way. What do you know as a child? Hey. The sudden sound of footsteps interrupted the conversation of several people. Kazan and others turned their heads to look. I saw a rough-looking Shiki with blonde hair, a height of 2.2 meters striding forward. At the same time, Shiki held a hemp rope in his hand, and the rope went up, connecting one after another, a total of more than a dozen bamboo baskets, floating about 1 meter above the ground, and each basket was filled with potatoes covered with dirt, corn wrapped in green, and other crops. In the last basket, there are 2 one-year-old babies in children's clothes. The babies are dancing, holding the bamboo baskets with both hands, sticking out their heads, holding their pacifiers in their mouths and yelling, "Drive! Drive! Drive!" The whole picture looks like a golden lion doll, holding a bunch of hydrogen balloons for sale. Shiki turned around and shouted angrily, "Shut up, little brat. It's so noisy." The 2 children were tearful, but they yelled even more happily, "Fierce! Drive!" At this scene, Kazan couldn't help laughing. Who would have thought? The Flying Admiral, who was notoriously famous in later generations, actually had a side of playing with children. Piao Piao's ability can make everything float, and it was actually used by him to do farm work in a whimsical way. Perhaps Shiki practiced Sword on the Reef with only the sound of waves all the year round and didn't get in touch with more people, so the practice was boring and he couldn't help but think carefully. He watched Kazan and the island residents get along well, so he took the initiative to go to the island to find him. Fun. Only, Shiki doesn't have the same conversation as Kazan and seems to know nothing but swordsmanship. With an idea, he thought of leaving a pile of neatly chopped wood in the woods on the back mountain after he practiced his sword, so he used lion fruit to carry the firewood and gave it to the island residents, which received a lot of applause. Now, it is the season of O'Hara harvest. What Shiki carried changed from firewood to potatoes, corn, and other crops. It has to be said that lion fruit has greatly improved the efficiency of farming for the residents on the island, and the 2 brothers have become more popular because of this. After the supplies on the warship are exhausted, the 2 often go to the residents' homes to have a meal. When Kazan brought it up, Shiki explained nonchalantly, "Doing farm work is also a kind of practice. Didn't you see that my lion fruit control level has reached the millimeter level?" Kazan was left speechless. The ant who followed behind said with a smile on her face, "Thank you, Shiki. I'm home already. What a big deal. I don't even know what you're moving." Shiki waved his hands impatiently. "Aunt Jenny, hurry home and cook. The pot is cold. Look, there are potatoes, corn, and dozens of caddies of freshly slaughtered beef in this basket. It's too heavy. Come and help Auntie carry it, Shiki," Aunt Jenny said. When Shiki heard it, he immediately flew over lightly. "What's the rush? You're still in a hurry when you're home. Hey, this is given to you 2 brothers by my aunt. Your brothers are growing up. Remember to eat more." What an embarrassment. A few minutes later, Shiki was holding a beautiful Jushiro basket full of ingredients behind his back, scratching his head all the way. Soon, a warship rose from the Cape of O'Hara. Gold Grand Line.